And we remain committed to continue confronting those threats, both here in the United States and overseas. In this heightened environment, there's no question we're seeing an increase in reported threats, and we've got to be on the lookout, especially for lone actors who may take inspiration from recent events to commit violence of their own. So I'd encourage you to stay vigilant, because as the first line of defense protecting our communities, you're often the first to see the signs that someone may be mobilizing to violence. I'd also ask you to continue sharing any intelligence or observations you may have, and on our end, we're committed to doing the same so that together we can safeguard our communities.
So that was the FBI director basically stating that they have had a dramatic increase in threats over the past few days since this situation popped off in Israel. Obviously, he was warning people in America to really keep your eyes open, even stating that they need our help to report anything suspicious and all of that good stuff. But I don't know about you all, but these warnings that we're getting in America are really starting to make me feel uneasy, and not just for the obvious reasons. I mean, you let me know how you feel, but in my opinion, I feel like we haven't really been given any direct warnings. All of these are indirect warnings. There's no specifics. Like, if you have all of these threats, all of these, this huge increase in threats, what are the threats? What are they threatening to do? Because you're not telling us. You're just warning us. The other day was the day of rage, and they warned us to be careful. Now they're just saying, hey, you got to be really careful. There's all these threats. We're getting all of these threats. All of these things are happening. But what's happening? If someone threatened to do something to a specific area or in a specific building, you're not telling us. You're just saying, hey, be warned, be on the lookout. There's a lot of threats coming in. So in many ways, that's not helpful for anyone, right? I mean, I think every single day of your life nowadays in 2023, you have to be extremely aware of your surroundings. Whenever I walk in somewhere, I immediately identify, where can I leave? And I don't just mean through the entrance. Where else can I leave? Where are some good places to go? When I go into a movie theater, for instance, I always pick out a couple of people who I think, you know what? If something happens, these are the people who, I'm the most worried about. But at the end of the day, how is this really helping us? Because we are not getting any specifics about anything. And then, they're saying that the main places that have to worry are New York and Florida. And I think they're saying that possibly because this migrant crisis. The reality is we have a lot of people pouring into this country that have no business being here. Hezbollah, Hamas, all of these terrorist groups, they have sleeper cells all throughout our country pouring over our border every single day. They're indoctrinating your kids in college and in high school. Have you seen all of these college-age students across America coming out in support of the attacks on Israel? And here's my thing. I don't care, per se, what side you choose. I'm not here to choose a side. I'm not here to tell you what side to choose. I understand that both sides have done horrible things to each other over the past decades and decades and decades. But when you see people fly across the Israeli border on paragliders, kidnap and kill women and children in the streets, why would your immediate response be, oh, we all need to go out into the streets and protest in support of this attack? That lets you know that these people aren't all the way there. It lets you know what their ideologies truly are. So if you're going to go out in the streets and not protest, but you go out into the streets to celebrate an attack on innocent people, not a good look. But anyways, as far as these warnings go, I can't help but feel like they may know that something's going to happen. And then after it happens, they'll be like, hey, we tried to warn you all. We told you all We tried to warn you we got threats. We didn't tell you what the threats were. We didn't tell you anything specific. We just gave you a light little bland warning about whatever. And then when something big happens, something bad happens, they're going to fall back on that like, hey, we had intel. We tried to warn people. No, you didn't. No, you really didn't warn anyone. All you did was manage to get people stirred up because you haven't told anyone any specifics of who, what, and where they should be worried about. Another reason why these warnings are making me feel extremely uneasy is because of the things that I'm hearing from the ground in Israel. There's rumblings going on. Let me start by saying this. None of this stuff is 100% confirmed. This is all just talk that's coming from Israel, the people in Israel. Not everyone in Israel, but people in Israel are talking, okay? So I want you all to understand that what I'm about to talk about, it's not 100% confirmed, but people are starting to talk. Now, once this attack happened, I let you all know, I'm sure you heard from other people as well, that this attack being successful was very unlikely. It really caught me by surprise because Israel is one of the most secure places on earth. They have one of the most secure borders on earth. They have one of the best intelligence networks, spy agencies. Yet somehow, a bunch of dudes on pickup trucks, scooters, and homemade paragliders were able to invade Israel and kill over 1,000 people. Over 1,000 people. Now, okay, let's say, all right, they somehow managed to breach the border without anyone knowing, which is kind of impossible, considering the fact they have cameras, listening devices, literal guards, walls that they have to go through. But anyways, they somehow got through undetected, right? And then for hours on end, they killed people, they took hostages, they went ham, they went wild in the streets, basically doing whatever they wanted to do without any pushback, without the Israeli military really intervening for hours. Now, the question is, how did this happen? Right? The first question is, how did they even make it across the border in the first place? How did they successfully get into Israel in the first place? The second question is, why didn't any Israeli military units confront these people for hours? Now, the rumblings on the ground in Israel, a lot of people in Israel are claiming that the military was told to stand down for up to 7 hours as Hamas was able to go through these little border villages and kill and kidnap people. As Hamas was able to go through this music festival, killing and kidnapping people. So it looks like there's a possibility here that Israel allowed this to happen so they can have an excuse to respond and do whatever they want to do. Now, that doesn't make what happened right. That doesn't make it a good thing. But it changes a lot of what we know about the situation. It changes how we approach this situation overall. This will not be the first time in history that a country allows itself to be attacked so they can retaliate and do what they want to do. All right, if Israel just decided one day, hey, we want to invade Gaza and we want to bomb Gaza, we want to do all of this, the world would react. The world wouldn't necessarily be okay with it. But if you're acting in self-defense or if you're retaliating, then they go ahead and give you the go-ahead. So it's really looking like there's a strong possibility here that this attack was almost basically allowed to happen. They allowed these people to rage out for a couple of hours before they responded. in order to make sure that this was a very bad situation so they can have an even worse response, if you catch my drift. Right from the beginning, I was thinking, there's no way that these people literally got into Israel without Israel knowing. People literally get shot for walking up too close to the border. These people plowed through the border, flew over the border. They don't have advanced equipment. None of that. So even if they were able to make it through the border, why weren't they confronted sooner? They weren't. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted to do for hours on end before Israel's military responded. So, the fact that they got into Israel in the first place is already shady enough. But then you add on to the fact that they were allowed to pillage for 6 hours straight before the military did anything. That just, it really doesn't look good. It doesn't look good in my opinion. I've thought from day one there's a possibility they allowed this to happen. But then again, we also have to understand that sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes systems fail. A lot of times we're led to believe that countries are stronger than what they are. Sometimes we're led to believe that borders are more secure than what they are. You know what I mean? So there's one or two things happening here. Either Israel straight up allowed this to happen, which I think is the most likely scenario, or Israel's defenses, Israel's military, Israel's intelligence agency, Israel's border is just not as good as we all thought it was for all of these years. One of the two had to have happened. Now, as far as the situation on the ground goes, the ground invasion of Gaza, the ground campaign, it has been halted due to rain and flooding. Is it God? I don't know. But Mother Nature has intervened. So right now, it looks like this invasion may be delayed for a couple of days until things dry up. So I guess that's a good piece of news. Maybe, if we're trying to be optimistic here, maybe over the next coming hours or the next coming days, as this invasion is delayed due to the weather, maybe some type of peace talks can come about. That's what I'm hoping for, but it looks very unlikely. Israel seems determined to go ahead and go through with this ground invasion. America seems determined to back them up as they do it, and it just looks like we're getting ready for all-out war in the Middle East as we continue to send more ships. We continue to send more ammunition. Other countries are slowly getting involved. And it's crazy to me how we were all focused on Ukraine and Russia. But quickly, all the focus has shifted now to the Middle East. And you can tell there's a different feeling with this conflict as opposed to the one with Russia and Ukraine. This one, for some reason, it feels more serious. It feels like it has more potential to blow up into something extreme that everyone gets involved in. As opposed to the war in Russia and Ukraine, I kind of feel like that's yesterday's news and people don't really care about it anymore. I have not seen people get as riled up about the war in Ukraine as they're doing this war over in Israel. Everyone seems to be picking a side. Everyone seems to have an opinion. We didn't see all of these massive protests across the entire world when Russia and Ukraine went to war. Yet every day there's these massive protests. They're supporters of Hamas. They're supporters of Israel. They're all in the city streets all across the entire world. And I don't know. With both of these conflicts happening at the same time, you let me know what you think. Can you feel the difference? Can you feel it? Because I can feel it. And I've covered both of these situations. I was covering the situation that was developing between Russia and Ukraine before Russia even invaded Ukraine. When Ukraine was pretending like they had nothing to worry about, when America was claiming that nothing was going to happen, I was already telling you all that Russia was getting ready to invade. And I can tell you, from covering both of these stories, there's a whole different feeling in the air when it comes to the situation in Israel. And there's a totally different response from world leaders around the world. So I do find that concerning. But for now, let me know your thoughts about all of this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all soon in the next video.